Hey everyone, welcome to my podcast on social development. My name's Ashton, and today we're going to be looking specifically at Erikson's stages of psychosocial development. First, I want to start off by giving y'all a little background info on who is behind this whole thing and what was the purpose. So in the mid-1900s, a theorist named Erikson, I just want to pause for a second and say that I think that's so funny that someone would name their kid Erikson. Did his parents not think that was a little strange? I don't know. But anyways, he took Freud's controversial psychosexual theory, which we won't get into today, and he modified it into an 8-stage psychosocial theory of development. So, the whole basis for the stages is that each stage has two conflicting ideas that must be resolved successfully in order for that person to reach a confident position in their life. And one thing to keep in mind as we go through these and break them down is that although the stages are specific enough to address age, there are many different ways someone could approach it. For example, certain cultures may have to resolve the stages in various ways, depending on their culture and survival needs. So let's go ahead and really dive into what these stages are and how they apply to each of our lives. There are 8 stages in total, and we are going to go through each of them in order. So the first one we have is stage 1. This starts at birth and goes up until the baby is about 12 months old, and the stage deals with the child's decision to trust or mistrust. What does this mean exactly? Well, when a baby is born, it is obviously not able to do things, let alone survive on its own. So there has to be some other person acting as a caregiver to the child. In order for this relationship between the baby and the caregiver to work effectively, there has to be some sense of trust established. So this can be done by making sure the baby's needs are satisfied. So examples of this would be the caregiver providing food, a fresh diaper, safety, or maybe just a simple comforting cuddle. If they succeed in doing this, the baby will not be afraid of the world. On the other hand, if they fail to do this, the baby will see the world as unpredictable and scary. So the next stage is stage 2, which is known as autonomy versus shame or doubt. This happens when a kid is from ages 1 to 3. And this stage is where the kids are just the cutest. I mean, am I right? They are just so cute and they're learning how to do new things. And they're just really starting to get a grasp on the world and become much more aware of everything around them. And as the toddlers develop, they're in what we call the me do it stage. This is them trying to establish their independence. And I can definitely think of a personal example of this when I was younger. My younger sister, who is about 3 years younger than me, was in this stage, and she always demanded that she dressed herself. And her outfit of choice was always either PJs or a bathing suit. So going to church, bathing suit. Going to dinner, PJs. Going to her own birthday party, PJs. That's just how her mind worked. So it was funny for me to watch, but it was definitely a way for her to let us know that she was going to do things her way. My parents had allowed her to do it because if they hadn't, it probably would have taken away her confidence, and she would have doubted herself that, hey, maybe I can't dress myself on my own. And so this can be a consequence of failure in working through autonomy versus shame. If the child is denied the opportunity to act on their environment, they will start to doubt themselves, like I just said. And this can instill low self-esteem that they will carry with themselves for the rest of their life. Other examples of this can include the child wanting to wander off on their own and explore, or helping with household tasks by themselves. They want to try new things and know that they can do it themselves. So let's see. Then there's stage 3, which is the initiative versus guilt stage. This happens when the child is around 3 to 6 years old. This is when kids start to branch out and really make social connections. So initiative is this sense of ambition and responsibility. This occurs when the parents allow the child to explore within limits and support the child's choice. This kind of blends smoothly with our previous stage of autonomy versus doubt. The difference is the effects of it. If the child is successful in this, they will build confidence and feel a sense of purpose. But if they are unsuccessful, they may develop feelings of guilt, such as decisions that kids have to make range of decisions from the friends they play with to the activities they engage in to the way that they approach different tasks. So that's stage 3. And stage 4 is industry versus inferiority. And this happens when a child is about 6 through 12. These elementary school stages consist of kids beginning to prepare themselves or compare themselves with their peers. They start to acquire a sense of pride through things like schoolwork, sports, social activities, and family life. As they start to do these activities, they start to bond with others that have similarities. If a child doesn't get along with others or fails to make these connections, they could develop an inferiority complex. This stage is just basically about kids starting to kind of size each other up and compare themselves based on variables like the ones we mentioned earlier. This whole thing can be very dangerous in one's development because it can either lead to a growth in confidence or kind of a downhill spiral to self-doubt and feelings of inadequacy. So moving on, we look at stage 5, identity versus role confusion. This is those awkward teenage years from age 12 to 18 years old. This is really where we all start asking questions like, who am I? Where am I going in life? What is my purpose? And I am definitely going through this right now. Just being a high school student, and I have seen a lot of my friends really struggle with this. I feel like this is the biggest transition stage, and it can really be scary to not feel like you fit in or have a strong sense of identity. It's like you're not a little kid anymore, but yet you're also not an adult. So you're kind of just stuck in this in-between stage that comes with a lot of self-discovery. And things like finding good relationships or friend groups that you feel safe in to finding a job that you enjoy doing. A big one for most of my friends right now is figuring out what they want to major in once they go to college, or even just what college they want to go to them itself. Society just really puts these pressures on us to find our place in the world and to just fill that hole. However, this is much easier said than done. Some people will just conform to what others tell them they should be doing, and this can have major consequences down the road, like a weak sense of self and a major sense of role confusion. However, if someone successfully finds their place, they can become driven and motivated and continue to grow on that confidence we had established earlier. So now stage 6 is the intimacy versus isolation. This will pretty much last from your early 20s all the way through kind of early 40s. And we have now overcome the part of our lives where we are building a sense of self and kind of moving on to wanting to share our lives with others. One of Erikson's big points was that he believed one must build a strong sense of self before having intimate relationships. 2 examples would be either exploring in romantic relationships or just friendships and finding those people you can really connect with in life. Adults who don't develop this may experience feelings of loneliness and emotional isolation. It's important for people to find those people in their lives that they can depend on and share things with. So on to stage 7, and we're almost done, guys, I promise. And this is the one that is generativity and versus stagnation. This happens when someone is in their 40s and goes on until someone's around in their 60s. And this is when they start reaching midlife and everything starts to become about contributing to the development of those around you. This can be through supporting family, volunteering, mentoring in some kind of way, and raising either children or maybe even grandchildren. And during this point in people's lives, it really starts to become about making the world better for the next generation. They really start to care for others and do what is positive to society. However, those who fail to do this can experience stagnation and feel as though they aren't making an impact in this world. I've personally started to see this with my parents as they are starting this stage, and they're very interested in volunteering all of a sudden and not only contributing to society, but also to set a really good example for my sister and I. And I'm sure they hope for us to follow that once we get to that stage in our life. And all right, and lastly, our stage 8, which is integrity versus despair. This will happen basically from one's 60s up until death. And it's really kind of a sad thing to think about because it deals with how people start to reflect on their lives. As the current kind of starts coming to a close, people are met with memories of what they've done over the years. And they either feel really proud of what they have done, or they become kind of disappointed and feel like, oh, I haven't done enough. They can easily fall into this trap of thinking their lives have been wasted and start to doubt themselves with things like, I should have done this, I could have done this, and so on. Hopefully, most will not fail at this stage and end their lives satisfied in everything that they've done. So this was all the 8 stages broken down for y'all. This was really just a simple explanation, and each can be broken down even further than this, but I just want to give everyone a basic understanding of what Erikson's theory was and what it was intended to distinguish. I really enjoyed making this podcast. I've been listening to podcasts lately and decided to give this a try, and it was really difficult for me to get the words out initially, and I'm just not the best at speaking or presenting, but I felt this would be a good way to practice it and hopefully over time become better. So thanks for listening, and I hope you learned something new today. See y'all next time. All right, bye.